Earlier, we defined the term family as two or more people who regard themselves as a family and who carry out the functions that a family typically performs. In today's lesson, we will learn about the different family functions, or the tasks that families perform to meet each other's needs. The 8 categories of family functions include affection, self-esteem, spiritual, economics, daily care, socialization, recreation, and education. The family systems framework calls these the family's outputs. Basically, the inputs are the individual family characteristics, the culture and microculture, and the interaction in the family subsystem. All of these things combine to create the family outputs, or the family functions. As we discuss the different functions, there are some framing questions I would like you to consider. What are all the different responsibilities that families must assume for their members? How does a child with a disability impact each of these areas of responsibility? And what can educators do to enable families to be as successful as possible in meeting their responsibilities? There are certain ground rules for family functions. The most important thing to consider is that even though there are 8 separate functions, they are all interrelated. Because the family is an interacting system, it is impossible for you to think about the family functions or outputs without taking into consideration the impact on other areas. Another concept to remember is that each family has a strength in some of the functions, but not all of the functions. This is not a bad thing, but it could be a way that you could help the family by locating supports to facilitate growth. It will be easier to creating trusting partnerships when you understand how the family addresses these 8 functions and the impact of their cultural values and personal preferences. Lastly, in order to understand the functions, it is best to take a look at your own family functions. What were your family priorities? Affection is the most important family function. No role is more important than the expression of love and affection. There is no doubt that families have many different ways of showing affection. Affection is a basic biological need for humans. It is exchanging verbal and physical affection or an exchange of unconditional love among family members. Cultural influences strongly determine how families deepen their emotional commitment and display affection. The display of love and affection ultimately increases the self-esteem of the members. All children have the basic need for acceptance, appreciation, and love. When addressing self-esteem, families help their members establish who they are and their worth as people. A child with a disability can influence other family members' self-esteem in positive, negative, and neutral ways. Imagine that. Parents of children with disabilities may experience feelings of low self-esteem, such as feelings of guilt if they believe somehow they contributed to the child having the disability. For instance, they may feel that their genetic makeup or their personal misconduct caused the disability. In other situations, families have faced multiple challenges and low levels of self-esteem throughout their life. Many families who have experienced poverty, substance abuse, and mental health challenges are highly vulnerable to demoralization, depression, and low expectations for the future. Self-esteem is susceptible to many challenges across the lifespan. Teachers play a critical role in supporting the self-esteem of their students and families as a whole. How do you think you could help build a family's self-esteem? Spiritual refers to the beliefs associated with a spirituality and religion. In many cultures, the role of the church and one's culture are deeply intertwined. Oftentimes, children with disabilities are a catalyst for a family's increased spirituality. The spiritual function of the family often comes into play when the family tries to interpret the meaning of the child's disability, and they derive emotional support through the religious community. Many persons with disabilities, like persons without, report religion to be a very important part of their lives. Economics impacts many other family functions. For instance, not having financial support will limit the family's ability to engage in recreation and socialization activities. Families make decisions daily on how to spend their income and handle their finances. We may not agree with their decisions, but ultimately it's none of our business. Family resources vary widely, determining the family's ability to respond to the challenges of their child with an exceptionality. Many families qualify for government support and benefits because of the presence of a disability. Yet other families are on the cusp, meaning they bring home just enough to not qualify for additional financial funding, and this can really impact the family. Because often a child's disability creates excessive costs for the family, many families have a difficult time with the economics of the disability. Why? Well, the presence of a disability can impact the family's employment status. For instance, if the child has challenging behaviors, then it's difficult to find quality childcare, and the mother may not be able to have a job, so the father may be the sole provider for the family. How can you help lessen the impact of economic strain with the families you are supporting? Take a look at this slide. I'll give you a few moments. It lists both the drawbacks and benefits of an exceptionality on family employment. Families are responsible for their members' physical and health needs. These include the day to day tasks of living, cooking, cleaning, and transportation. A substantial amount of time is given to attending these needs. Health impairments of children greatly increase the breadth and depth of caregiving on a daily basis. Meeting daily needs is one of the significant outputs in family interaction. All children, including those with disabilities, can make contributions to family daily care needs. How could you help a family meet the daily care need of a child with a disability? Socialization is a vital component to the quality of life. Think about it. What would you do without friends? No one to text, call, go out with, or study with? No one to talk to? Can you see how important this function can be for a family? Unfortunately, families often have a difficult time meeting the socialization needs of their child or young adult with a disability. This is also an area of priority for most families. How could you facilitate friendships for a child or young adult with disabilities? How could you create opportunities for friendships to begin? Enjoying leisure time is an important component of quality of life for individuals with exceptionalities and their families. A family's culture influences its view about the role of recreation and leisure. Recreation includes sports, games, hobbies, or play, and can be done indoor or outdoor, as a spectator or as a participant. Depending on the nature of the child's exceptionality, the family's recreational role may be expanded, unaffected, or curtailed. Leisure and recreation should be an important part of each child's curriculum. Many recreational activities provide excellent opportunities for children and families to socialize, learn important skills, and build social networks. How can you facilitate recreation and leisure activities for the families you are supporting? Families generally place a strong emphasis on education. Families from diverse cultural and linguistic backgrounds often encounter educational and social barriers in attaining equal opportunities for their children. It is important to maintain a balanced approach to educational goals, since overemphasis of education may be a detriment to other family functions. While these tasks and activities are common to all families, they are likely to be affected by the presence of a child with a disability. A concern of most parents today, particularly to those who are employed outside the home, is not having enough time to carry out family functions and meet the needs of the family. Approximately two-thirds of all employed parents with children under the age of 18 report they do not have enough time to meet their children's needs. Imagine the impact of a child with a disability on this equation. Families of children with disabilities often are required to devote more time to addressing the child's needs. Parents report that there are barriers to efficient use of their time. Some of these barriers include the overwhelming number of tasks parents were asked to complete by professionals, the lack of local and accessible services, and a lack of flexible and family-centered scheduling of services. As a teacher, we need to be sensitive to the extreme demands placed on families of children with disabilities. What can you do as a teacher to help lessen the impact of the time factor? So, as teachers, it's important to remember that education is just one of the 8 family functions, and parents may not prioritize it as the most important function. We cannot ask too much of parents when it comes to the education function. Remember, they are busy with economic, recreation, socialization, and daily care demands as well. We also need to remember that this is lifelong for the parent. We can help to support them and make things better, but we cannot fix the situation. I'll conclude with a short video of someone who is both a teacher and a parent of a child with a disability. I hope this gives you a bit of perspective of at least one family. Grab your Kleenex because it's pretty impactful, but in a good way.
Test question alert. Test question alert. Note from the big giant head.
I don't fall asleep in this class. I just don't. And it's weird because I can remember falling asleep in every other class.
I've never had a teacher like him at all.
Like calculus, every day, I pass out.
Like, he's probably one of the teachers, like, probably when I'm 75 years old, that I'll still remember.
ROTs, I fall asleep in there all the time.
He's the epitome of what I think a teacher should be.
But Papa?
How do you know how far this is right now?
You know what? I think that's what I was afraid of. Okay, go ahead and go get that potato for me, please.
Mr. Wright has a key to the city. Yeah.
I just tend to fall asleep a lot. It's a bad thing, but I do. But this class just keeps me interested, so there's no room for napping because you're learning.
Let's smoking!
Careful! Oh my gosh!
It's like this guy is just crazy. He's just exploding with fun.
I don't know, you see a huge fireball burn in my hand and go up to the ceiling, and all the matter, I'm not going to have any kids sleeping, and every one of those people are out there asking how. And as soon as you get the kid asking how or why, I can rope them in and get that intrigue going. Once again, it's a love of learning.
He says, I could care less about Newton's third law. I want to teach you something for you to take outside of school. That's what he's told us before, so. It makes me feel like he really cares about me, and I know he does. He's a good man, and he will go out of his way for you.
Any last words? Do you love us?
Oh. More than you know. Hang on.
3, 2, 1.
Good job, man. Thank you. All right, everybody, I'll be signing pieces of cinder block after class. You know, schools have them for 6 hours a day. And then the kids go home, and whatever atmosphere they have around for the other 18 affects them. And so, you know, schools can change a lot, but we also have to realize that they go home to a completely different environment.
I think he could tell with me, like, that I had stuff going on. So he, like, kind of reached out to me at first, and at first I was like, dude, like, you're a teacher, like, I'm not going to talk to you, like. But I did. What
I went home to when I was young is very different than what some of these kids go home to, where they don't have a mom and dad, or some of these kids I hear them talk about all the time, where there were gunshots at night. Well, I'd have a hard time sleeping or studying if I knew there were gunshots outside the room.
I've pretty much been on my own since I was like 15. So, yeah, I mean, I talk to him about a lot of stuff, like at home and stuff, and he works with me. I mean,
I've had everything from Mr. Wright, we're pregnant, to I've had an abortion, to I've ran away, and here's what I'm saying. My father is beating me, and here's pictures of the holes in the walls, and you can see where the makeup is trying to cover bruises. I mean, it's just very different than where some of the rest of us are. That's why one size fits all doesn't work. You have a good day? You did? You want more cookies? A mommy cookie? A brownie? Well, let's go home and see if Mom made some. She said she was going to make some, but I don't know if she ever did.
Hold your hands, Adam.
Here you go, Adam. Amen of that.
Yeah.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts which you're about to receive from the bounty of Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Father,
It's like that one color.
Abby is perfect in every way. She's actually 15, not 14. She's 15 going on 25. She's, you know, one of these people that can't stand her dad because he's stupid and a little bit nuts and so forth. So I love her to death. When Adam came along, though, we didn't think it was going to be a boy. And all of a sudden, a boy pops out, and I'm thinking, wow, this is cool. Now I got a girl and a boy, and not that I really cared, but you get all the dreams of, wow, I'm going to be going to football games. I'm going to be going to baseball games. If they're not any good at sports like I am, we'll be going to, you know, plays or something like that. Whatever it be, yeah, I'm going to be there for my little buddy, okay?
No, now we have to give her our address.
Oh, so what is our address in Spanish? Uno, doso.
What the heck? No. Is that what
That's Mr. Tim. Well, anyway, the nurse comes out and says, this is your boy, and I get ready to hold him. She said, we got to take him back. And I'm thinking, what's going on? She said, he's breathing really, really fast. He was breathing 180 times a minute. It's about 3 times a second. Still to this day, breathes about 60 times a minute. That's once a second. Think about breathing that fast. You get pretty tired after a while, wouldn't you?
You get all your homework done? Yeah, good. Can you breathe a little better now, Adam? Huh? Does that help? Huh? That help right there? You got a good head of hair. Yeah.
Do you like music?
Loves music. How do you sign music? Oh, come on, that wasn't it. That was signing time. How do you sign music? Okay, so that's music. Okay. We then found out he was completely blind. Okay. He was born with something called Joubert syndrome. Only 417 people in the whole world have it. And what it is it's an autosomal recessive disorder where my wife has to have a gene and I have to have a gene that puts us together, and it causes this to happen. So I have a completely intelligent little boy, but he can't control what his body does, even though his body is completely functional. The mere fact that right now your butt's on that chair, your butt tells your brain which way up is. His brain doesn't do that. So the mere fact that you can sit down and sit up is a miracle. Let's go. All right, pal. That's it. Keep going.
Oh.
He is extremely self-abusive. For instance, if he gets scared or if he gets upset, he'll just start taking his fist and pounding his face as much as possible. If he wakes up and he gets scared and I'm not there, he'll roll out of bed and just start pounding his face on the floor. Stay in bed, please stop. Constantly take his legs and just pound him on his wheelchair until he gets all bruised and bloody. So when I started getting a wrap on what all this was about, all those dreams of ever watching my son knock a home run over the fence went away. And talk about getting pissed at God. I was pissed. Because you know the whole thing about where the universe came from? I didn't care. What I care about is why. And you can pick on me all you want, but when you pick on my little boy, that's wrong. A totally innocent little baby and you're making him do that? I started asking myself, what was the point of it? So as we went through all this, it was Abby that sort of taught me why. One day, I went up to her room, and she had Adam in the middle of all of her dolls. And I'm thinking, what are you doing? She's playing with my little brother. I'm thinking, he doesn't know how to play. And she said, Adam, she said, like, hand me $1 or something, and he just smacked it. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, if he smacked that, he can see. When did you find out he could see? He said, I don't know, he just started smacking dolls. And I'm thinking, holy mackerel. And so then we started working with him and trying to teach him a little sign language. And there was nothing more incredible than the day you see this. What's that mean? Daddy, I love you. So cool. That's when I knew it didn't care about how things work anymore. It's the reason why things work is because of love. So there's something a lot greater than energy. There's something a lot greater than entropy. It's the fact that what's the greatest thing? Love. That's what makes it all the why we exist. So in that great big universe that we have with all those stars, who cares? Well, somebody cares about you a lot. And as long as we care about each other, that's where we go from here. Thanks for sitting behind us. I needed you yesterday. You hear me? Yeah.
Knew that was gonna happen.
I know, it's hard. Man, it's a hard story. You okay? I was worried about you yesterday. Yeah. Juice. I see you play juice. You say juice. You didn't say juice, you said play, right? Huh? Did you say play? You did? What do you want to play? Huh? What are you going to play? Pull up! Pull up! Use those abs! Use those up! Use those abs! Up! Use those abs! Alright, so much for doing therapy, huh? Alright, ready? You gonna have me carry it, that's what I thought. What are you grunting for? I'm going to pick up the load. Huh? He pulled the dirty old rag from his pocket and threw it up in the air, and the raven went swoop down and grabbed the rag in his beak. Good boy, Forrest smiled. Now give it back. No, Chuck, Forrest screamed. You're supposed to return it to me. But he could not get the raven's attention. In total frustration, Forrest voiced